The impact of poverty on education. What is poverty? According to Britannica Dictionary, poverty is a state of one who lacks a usual or socially acceptable amount of money or material possessions. Poverty is said to exist when people lack the means to satisfy their basic needs. And we have types of poverty. According to Jensen, poverty is described as a chronic, debilitating condition that results from multiple adverse synergetic risk factors and affects the mind, body, and soul. He further stated that poverty does not look and feel the same for all people. He identifies 6 types of poverty, and they are as follows. Situational, generational, absolute, relative, urban, and rural. And I shall explain them a little further. In this picture we have examples of rural poverty or even urban poverty, people living on the outside. And many people go to the food bank, as we can see down on the left, on the right corner. Move along. Now, there are situations that cause people to fall into different types of poverty. We have 6 of them explained. We have environmental disasters that can cause environmental disasters, divorce, and severe health problems. These can cause temporary type of poverty. Generational poverty, for many generations, no one tends to move up and out and away. They tend to stay in the same vicinity from time to time, generation to generation. They never move up nor out. Absolute poverty, which is not common in America, it involves a scarcity of such necessities as shelter, running water, and food. Families who focus on day-to-day survival. Example, probably some African countries or some other third world countries, you might find absolute poverty. Now, there is relative poverty, refers to the economic status of a family whose income is insufficient to meet its society's average standard of living. Urban poverty occurs in metropolitan areas with populations of at least 50,000 people. The urban poor they are dependent on inadequate facilities, and they do not have enough to survive. Most of them scavenge. Rural poverty, population less than 50,000 people with not many infrastructures and access to services. And they do not have enough support for disabilities and quality education opportunities. And sometimes they even have job opportunities that are very few and far between. Here in this picture we have someone who is probably at a job center seeking help to get a job. Children or families in a low-income stratum of society face the prospect of hunger, unstable housing, or even homelessness, and a sharp cutback in work hours for their parents. We truly believe the slogan, "Children are our future." Therefore, improved educational outcomes will determine improved employment outcomes. If we should ask ourselves the question, what does access to good health care have to do with education? Then the situation would be quite mind-boggling. The answer is, children's health is vital to their academic well-being. If children are sick or get sick very often without access to proper health care, then that would diminish their opportunities to long-term positive consequences. Children in low-income sectors of society are more likely to attend school hungry. Many Title I schools have become the kitchen foundation of the children in the community from which they come. Our Title I schools are committed to ensuring that children have nutritious meals to eat and at home and at school so that they grow up healthy and strong. You may ask the question, what do I mean by Kitchen Foundation? It provides breakfast, lunch, and oftentimes during the summer it provides dinner for these families, these children, so that during the summer the children do not go hungry, but they are able to have proper meals because it's provided or subsidized by the school. Access to education. When children have access to education, their educational goals can go smoothly and as complete as possible. They can provide and implement a flexible program and classroom environment that is favorable to students' learning and personal growth. The federal poverty line appropriates an annual income for a family of 4 to be $20,000. Nearly 13.5 million children are considered in the poverty line, at or below the poverty line. There are some major disadvantages of children living in poverty, such as lack of technology, lack of vocabulary, lack of supplies, lack of proper clothing and hygiene, and lack of support. Sometimes they don't have families to support them. Dad, major stable for the family, might be absent, or mom. So many times some children find themselves with grandparents who are not able to adequately provide for them. Unfortunately, statistics show that children of poverty start life in poverty, start their first line of defense in poverty, and start school at a disadvantage, and end their schooling at a disadvantage. Because their foundation is weak, sometimes it's very hard for them to find a stable upbringing. Therefore, their outcome is not very good. So they're at risk, and they're at risk for emotional and social challenges, acute and chronic stresses, cognitive lags, health and safety issues. Children who are impoverished or become disenfranchised. It is reported that by Grober and Brooks that in 1995, 35% of poor families experience 6 or more risk factors that defer education success, such as divorce, sickness, or eviction. Only 2% experience no risk factors. In contrast, only 5% of well-off families experience 6 or more risk factors, and 19% experience none. That's according to what Jensen reported. All these risk factors are detrimental to the experience and the physical and social, socio-emotional, and cognitive well-being of children. The question is asked, how poverty affects children's behavior? Because of the family life, there are family problems, there are health problems. Children cannot adjust to their level of development, and some of them have self-esteem issues, and as a result there's general academic difficulties. So that's how poverty affects children in their behavior. Now, there are 4 ways schools can support the whole child, the body, mind, and soul, in their relationships. The school can identify their emotional skills, help them to develop their emotional skills, and overall build their well-being. And that's where also the food program comes in, where we spoke about earlier on. There are some strategies that are effective for schools to help with the supporting children who are from poverty communities. Schools must provide the best support for their students, and the school does go through hosting highly qualified teachers who are and caring and nurturing. I see a little mistake in my guy there. Right there. Caring and nurturing. Take time to prepare lessons in advance. Provide technology for student use. Establish parent and student participation programs. So when we have parent collaborating with our schools, with our teachers and administrative staff, we find that students are better able to participate in their academic success. Likewise, schools also should provide or create an early education environment for young students. Also, last but certainly not least, provide love and support and understanding to our students. Where possible, provide dental health clinics, health checks, and school. Coordinate with the clinics in our community to care for students or to recommend them to the nearest health centers for basic health services. The brain is affected with poverty situation. The prefrontal cortex, it is damaged when it is not properly given enough nutrition. So children ought to get enough nutrition so that their brain can function. The hippocampus, the amygdala, these are responsible for emotions and for providing support for the brain and the body's function. This helps in emotions. If children are emotionally disturbed, they will behave badly most times. So we have to make sure that their brain is taken care of nutritionally and socially so that they can be balanced children. Students' behavior streams from a myriad of components such as genes and the influences in the environment. According to the Department of Education, poor emotional health caused by a lack of parental support may cause an increase in disruptive behavior in classrooms. And that's a fact. Even in my practicum, I can see some children that we have identified that are from certain level of society, a bit poverty stricken. Their behavior is really different compared to some of the middle class children in our class. You never skip something. Previous experiences and beliefs about poverty. I grew up in a middle class family. We owned a farm that did animal husbandry. I have had classmates that were not able to have lunch or breakfast. Some classmates were on the free lunch program. I got an error right there. I never considered them poor, but being young I could not really adequately understand in depth the matter of how poverty or being poor would affect another child.